Hello and welcome back to another week of Sambo iRacing. We're back in the Ferrari 296 GT3 Okayama, full of what promises to be another wonderful week of racing. If you're new to my channel, we do a hot lap, then a breakdown, then we are back in the cockpit one final time with the driving line on. Any questions, let me know in the comments, or even just say hello to help me out with the algorithm. Let's start the hot lap. So we're smashing it down the main straight, looking for the blue cone on the right hand side. Before we get there, braking up to about 70%, dropping it down to second gear on the gas, nice and smooth. Head back out over to the right hand side, looking for this green patch of asphalt before we get there. On the brakes, not too much and not for too long. Down to third gear, exit nice and wide. Straighten out the track as best as we can. Looking for the 50 on the left hand side, braking harder this time, up to 80%. Short, trail off down to second. Back on the gas, trying to hug it over to the right hand side as best as you can. So the track conditions are 21 and the air conditions 21, track 32. Looking for the 100-meter board, braking up to about 95%. Nice trail off down to first gear, cut in the corner, back on the gas. Got to be quite patient there, up to second gear. Little dab on the brakes, trail it off. Nice wide entry into the next corner. Very similar corners, these two. Exit nice and wide both times. Means you're getting on the gas early enough. At the 50, braking up to just shy of 80%, dropping it down to first gear, back over to the left-hand side. Briefly up to second, and then down to first once again. I missed the apex there. Up to third gear, little lift. Back on the gas, looking for the patch of sand. Final braking marker. So, yeah, this is, 4 or 5 degrees warmer than it was when I was in the AMG, but it is 3 or 4 tenths slower, so very similar. Right, let's do the breakdown. Right, breakdown. And yeah, I still think I preferred the Porsche around here, but the Porsche is one of my favorites anyway. So this is where we start braking for turn 1, so we are quite a bit before the blue cone, but the blue cone sort of acts as my aide-memoire. However, once we go past the blue cone, or once it goes out of sight, that's when we're nearly up to 70%, my maximum. So I am braking quite early, but a little bit light around here. I wonder if it's just the weight distribution on the Ferrari that made me do that. Anyway, we get back on the gas, head over to the right-hand side. So we can either use this Marshall's hut on the right-hand side. I tend to look for the green asphalt and the little patch of sand just before it. So just before I get there, braking up to, 25%. Trail it off. I'm in third gear, still trailing it off. And as you can see, I get up to, 80% on the apex. Had a little wobble. And then I don't actually get up in the Ferrari until I'm back on the road. Right, now we're looking for the 50 marker on the left-hand side. So just before we get there, that's when we start braking. Up to 80%, trail it off, dropping it down to second. And again, this is a race to getting on the gas rather than a race to the middle of the corner. We want to get on the gas as early as possible. So I get up to 100% really quite early in the Ferrari. It did feel stable enough to do that. With a lot of the cars, you're not hitting full beams until you're quite near the exit. Right, for the next one, it's the 100 board on the left-hand side. So, yeah, just before we're going through that, you can see it's still on the left of the screen. Getting on the brakes, I do brake up to, 95%. Again, trying to avoid the ABS. Dropping it down to first, and we're getting back on the gas at the apex, although a little bit later than in the Porsche. Up to second gear, and now we do a light dab on the brakes, briefly up to 25%. Trail that off, back on the gas at the apex. Exit nice and wide, and we're using this next horizontal to us white line as the braking marker. As we get there, we get on the brakes, and again, very similar, back on the gas. Looking for the 50 board here as we come into this corner. So braking up to, 75%. Trail that off down to first gear, trying to hug it to the left. So it opens up the next corner here, Hobbs turn 9. Braking briefly up to about 22%. And again, I just missed the apex there, but I do get on the gas nice and early. Up to third, do a lift. Don't hit the yellow line. Back on the gas. And now we're looking for the start of the sand here on the left-hand side where the green asphalt stops. That's when we broke briefly up to, what, nearly 60%. Sharpish trail off, and then back on the gas. Exit nice and wide. So that's the breakdown lap. We've got one final version coming up next with the driving line on without me talking. Enjoy.